So I'm asked to present two awards tonight, and our first is the Philanthropic Excellence Award, and it's being presented to the Starr Foundation. The Starr Foundation was established in 1955 by Cornelius Vander Starr, an entrepreneur who founded the CV Starr Company and other companies, some of which were combined to become AIG, American International Group, and others. Mr. Starr was a pioneer of globalization, and he set up his very first insurance venture in Shanghai 100 years ago in 1919. Mr. Starr passed away in 1968, and he left his entire estate to the foundation that he created. Mr. Starr's wish was that his partners continue to run his foundation and his companies after his death. His successor, Maurice Greenberg, built Starr and AIG into one of the largest insurance and financial services companies in the world. Under Mr. Greenberg's leadership as chairman of the Starr Foundation, the assets of the foundation grew from a few $1 million after Mr. Starr's death to approximately $1.5 billion today, making it one of the largest private foundations in America. And since 1955, the foundation has made more than $3.5 billion of grants worldwide, with more than $310 million supporting programs in and related to China and U.S.-China relations. To accept the Philanthropic Excellence Award on behalf of the Starr Foundation is Ms. Florence Davis. Florence?
Thank you so much. That's beautiful. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. As I was considering my remarks tonight, I thought this is kind of a fraught time in U.S.-China relations, let alone everything else. And I was particularly concerned because if you know Hank Greenberg, China is really his home away from home, and I don't want to mess this up tonight. That could be dangerous. I always thought that I was sort of a halfway decent amateur diplomat until I represented the foundation at the University of California at Berkeley. We had given several $1 million to Columbia and to Berkeley for Starr East Asian libraries on both coasts. And I went out to dedicate the Berkeley Starr Library. And I thought, well, I know that there are going to be Chinese dignitaries there and Chinese faculty and, of course, Chinese alumni. And so I took out my red jacket that I had bought for a Chinese New Year's celebration, and I put on my dragon pin, and I had some Analects of Confucius in my speech, and in English, not my Mandarin is terrible. And I was very proud of myself. After the dedication, there was a reception, and three Cal alums, Chinese gentlemen, came to talk to me. I knew they were alums because they were wearing giant blue Cal football badges. And they were lovely to meet, and one of them said to me, Mrs. Davis, thank you very much for giving us this lovely library. We owe the Starr Foundation a lot of gratitude for this. And then he grabbed my red jacket and said, but never wear Stanford's colors again on this campus. And I thought, oh, I thought I was being so politically correct, and I really blew it. I went to a women's college. We didn't have a football team. So it was a learning experience. I now, before I go anywhere for the foundation, make sure I understand the color scheme. So in trying to avoid another diplomatic pitfall, I will only tell you one story from the foundation's history in China, which I think demonstrates the power of patient efforts for an enduring relationship. The foundation, as Ambassador Locke said, has made grants of about $3.5 billion, nearly 10% of which have been China-related. One of my favorite stories is really about one of our smaller grants, about $500,000. At the Summer Palace in is the Baoyun, or Precious Cloud Pavilion. It was built around 1750, as many of you know, at the behest of the Qianlong Emperor, who was a devout follower of Tibetan Buddhism. And the pavilion is remarkable because it's made entirely of cast bronze. It was not destroyed during the Opium Wars, nor by any of the fires that struck the wooden buildings of the Summer Palace over the years. But around 1900, during the Boxer Rebellion, 10 of the 20 original bronze window casements and doors were removed from the pavilion and ended up in an auction house in Shanghai in 1910, where they were purchased by a French banker. The Chinese tried to buy the panels back, but in 1912, the banker took the panels to France. 80 years later, in December of 1992, an antique dealer in Paris contacted one of Hank Greenberg's partners at Starr to say that the panels had been consigned for sale. The Starr Foundation agreed to purchase the panels for $500,000 and paid $15,000 for their shipment back to China, to the to the Chinese Bureau of State Relics. 25 years ago, there was a ceremony to celebrate the return of the panels, and the director of the State Bureau of Relics said, "The recovery of these missing relics has always been the cherished desire of generations of the Chinese people. This is the first contribution made by a foreign organization for the recovery of missing precious relics. Sending back the bronze windows has opened a new window to link together people's feelings. We can see through this window a brand new field of friendly cooperation among people of different races, in different countries, and under different social systems. This small gift was as meaningful to us at Starr as it was to the people of China. And it really has been a privilege to work with Hank and the others to build bridges between our great two nations. And I know for our part that we're looking forward to our second 100 years in China. Thank you very much.